Hey everybody, welcome back to the dungeon. You got Jayhova here along with my best friend as always, Fanboytone, looking sharp, looking good. And tonight we're going to talk about high seas, pirate fantasy, or as our friend at Half Ass Beer Review likes to say, a swashbuckling. So,
He does indeed. He does indeed.
Tone, I see that you're dressed for the occasion as well as I am. What have you got
Yes,
going?
I've got my Kraken destroying a pirate ship, and I'm going to pretend the entire stream that I'm on a boat swaying as I try
Nice.
to get my sea legs.
Awesome. And then, of course, I just got the black shirt from Valverse. I am looking forward very much to talking about that line maybe a little bit in the stream tonight. But there is one stream that we are going to, or one toy line that we're going to talk about above all else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our good friends at Tide Realm Corsairs. Can we welcome on Quaid?
Yes, we can.
Hi, sir. How's it going?
Going all right. Fantastic to be here. Is it acceptable if you've only found one sea leg to work with? Because that's all I got.
Yes, it absolutely is.
I'll work with it. The peg leg is just kind of part of the profession. I can't help it.
Right.
I,
That's
I
comes
love
with it.
it. Thank goodness I never had to go through that. I had a couple of friends while I was in the military that lost limbs, and
Oh,
it was always funny because like they would come back in such good spirits after they rehabbed and everything, and make
right.
all the pirate jokes. And it's like, dude, you should have joined the Navy if you want to make pirate jokes.
Precisely.
That's
Precisely.
funny. That's funny. Yeah, that's a good point, though.
Uh,
Excellent.
so
Well,
tonight is all about high seas fantasy, and you are certainly no stranger to that. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and kind of explain who you are and what you do?
My name is Quaid Cundle, and Tide Realm Corsairs is a dream that my wife and I had about a year ago. It was something that pretty much blossomed overnight, and it's very much thanks to Four Horsemen as a studio for being so highly collaborative and welcoming as they were. We reached out to them practically on a whim with our concept, and they were so responsive to the presentation and the idea that we had moving forward that it seemed to open a door that we thought was closed to us. We didn't realize that there was indie toy makers just like there are indie filmmakers. And so that story very much wrote itself overnight once we had narrowed down the concepts that we wanted for the toy line. And it's something that we have pretty much lived, breathed, and bled for the last 12 months, all leading up to Legions Con, which was a huge event for us. And so the community that's rallied behind us has been really, really wonderful
awesome.
to see folks just kind of jump on this ship that we've created over the last year.
Awesome.
And that's so amazing to me because literally, like as content creators, I totally get that bleeding for your art. We we have enjoyed Tone. I'm going to speak for him a little bit. We have really enjoyed watching your guys' progress photos on Instagram and Facebook. It has been an amazing journey
Yes.
leading up to the upcoming Kickstarter. Tone, any more flowers that you want to throw right off the bat at our friend Quaid here?
The first time that you sent me the pictures, you're right. I did, of course, get excited because that was a period of time where I was like, nobody does skeletons. This is so annoying. And like good character skeletons, either it's just regular skeletons or none, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, it's pirate fantasy, right? Like, I mean, it's one of the best fantasies around. And yeah, like you said, as soon as I got my eyes on it, I mean, as you know, probably from my back and forth on the internet with either the Facebook or the Instagram, like, I'm always just there to support and be excited, and been waiting for that Kickstarter date, which we're going to talk about later too. But yeah, no, I'm stoked. I'm
well,
excited.
those sculpts practically speak for themselves. It's cool that we have a whole storyline that's developed eons in the past and eons in the future to go with these guys. But those toys were designed to be cool toys first, and that world
Hmm.
came alive around them. And there's something that they do exactly what we intended, which was to get your attention visually really, really quickly. And the more you look at them, the more there is to discover.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. It's awesome. I love the sculpts, and I don't know. Like I said, like we recently, and I was telling you and said, I've been watching on some other streams and some folks that I know as well too, like Toy Mercs,
Hmm.
and just even listening to you then. diving more into some of the characters and their background, I'm like, my God, like it's not like just some small, shallow pond that you've built with lore. You've
Nope.
literally built an ocean's worth of lore already, and it's pretty intense and amazing, and it's exciting.
It's hugely intense, and all of that is accessible on the website at tiderealmcorsairs.com. The Pirate Codex is something we've had a lot of fun working on because it's
Mhm.
got all of that. Well, I say all of it. There's backlogs of story content that folks might not see for years because of the amount of products it could revolve around. But the stuff that's out there right now is already so rich and inviting. We've gotten great feedback for the folks that have had time to dive in because there's a lot there. And there's so much that circulates specifically around these three captains just in their own right that it's a really renewable storyline.
Yeah, and I think that is so fun starting with like with only three characters, starting with three different factions and really like starting with the heads of the crew. That was really a neat move because a lot of people are like, oh, let's get this faction out first, and
Right.
to give you kind of a three-way dance right off the rip, to use a wrestling term, is a
Uh-huh.
really fun way to do it.
Mhm.
It was a very intentional decision. It was something that, we went back and forth on just a little bit in the beginning because we had some great advisement from Horseman as far as what direction to go. And of course, ultimately, we had to make that decision for our company. But it was very much about, what do we prioritize? Filling up shelves quickly or establishing a really unique and powerful footprint right away with some strong characters out the gate and then beginning to flush out shelves. And that was the route we ultimately went because we had such faith in these three characters in their own right.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome.
Well, I like I said, I know that you've caught the show previously, but as opposed to doing just like a traditional Q&A, we like to kind of start with a topic, and Tone is always just such a blast to hear his initial thoughts. So I'd like to open up my first question for us all to answer to you, Tone.
Mhm.
What were your earliest pirate influences that you can remember? Your first high seas adventures?
The first one, I really had to kind of think on this, and I was trying to think timelines, which was tricky on that, but it was reading Treasure Island book as a kid. That was the first one. James Hawkins.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the first time that I can remember. I always go back to, and I know it's got a little bit of pirate, but technically is. I think the second one in that kind of time frame of that realm of my young age was actually Goonies.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yep.
Goonies.
And
Yeah.
I feel like Goonies, I know it's not like traditional straight up pirate fantasy, but it's
Right.
still it's you know what I mean? But like it does kind of get forgotten a little bit because like the entire movie's, everything else going on as well too. But then you get to the end and you're on a pretty
That whole
massive
set
pirate
piece is a sunken ship. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So, but yeah, it took me some real thinking on that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was probably Treasure Island book as a child. So I don't know if
Treasure
you've ever
Island
read it,
pretty
but
much solidified kind of the American definition of what pirates and then to an
mhm.
extent fantasy pirates became. It very much informed what that was for people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I read a lot of those classic books as a kid. I don't know, thinking about all the ones in that realm, but that was definitely one of the ones that stuck out the most generally anyways. So, and also I know it's not really pirates, but it's still when you're talking seas, I one of my all-time favorite books is Moby Dick. So,
Oh, right, absolutely. That's just a good book, regardless
mhm.
of what genre it fits in. But I think
Yes, yes it
pirates is a
is.
pretty applicable comparison.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, how about you, Quaid? Like, were you first introduced through a book or a short story, or was it movie, TV show?
Well, I don't know if anybody can tell, but I'm a little on the young side. So that deep swathing point of reference is of course very much tied to the early 2000s. Now I'm just kind of an 80s kid at heart. A lot of that stuff is just part of my lingo and a part of my awareness simply because I was raised by an 80s kid anyway. But the biggest influence for me, interestingly enough, still originated with toys. A story that I really resonated with came through advertising from Mattel's Mega Bloks Pirates line, spelled with a Y, in those early
Oh
2000s. And they
yeah.
had such an interesting and specific aesthetic that I'm not even going to pretend has not influenced what Tide Realms has become. And it
Mhm.
was so highly informed by, of course, those Pirates of the Caribbean films that
Mhm.
circulated for well over a decade. They all were very complementary to each other. I know that Mega Bloks went into that genre too. Building toys have been a big part of my life anyway, and so that kind of sandbox play that that world opened up was always very specifically attractive to me. So pirate toys from the very beginning were something that actually got me interested in the genre for that, in its own right. Dressing up as a pirate, it was very much the role play thing was what got me into it, rather than necessarily a specific story. It was telling my own.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
Well, for me, it actually started with a cartoon line. It was the Pirates of Blackwater, and very
Uh,
much like you, Quade, the toys immediately locked me into. So I was
yep.
one of those kids that scraped by pocket money because
Mhm.
Christmas and birthdays were the only two times that you got new
Yep.
toys. But
Yep.
KB's was always there for me, and I could always buy the toys that other kids didn't want. And so, like, I remember walking in and them having almost the entire wave on this like 3 for 5 deal. And so like I
Ooh.
had saved up all my pocket money and bought up as many of the characters as they had. And then the ship was like $15. And so like I remember like having the little kiddie pool and like
Uh-huh.
putting the ship in that
Mhm.
and playing with the
Mhm.
figures. But I
That's my
think
speed.
yeah. So I think for me, like the cartoon and then getting my hands on those toys and then Hook is how I
Ooh.
found
Mhm.
uh, Treasure Island as a book. Like those two influences coming out so close to each other, I was like, man, there's got to be something more pirates related book wise
Right.
because I was a big book kid and I was a big comic book kid, and there just really wasn't anything other than some of those old like reprinted Conan stories from Marvel
Yep.
that really
Yep.
filled that like high seas fantasy thing. Like
Mhm.
I know we're using the word pirate a lot, but just high seas fantasy in general.
Right.
Everything took place on land, you know. And so those were my
It's
early influences into the genre.
it's a really niche genre, interestingly enough. It's been so attractive to people for so many years, and yet woefully underrepresented in
Yes.
almost every facet. You have books that, will once in every decade and a half circulate around it. You'll have some comic books that might come up with an idea that goes for about a year and then it putters out. And it's very strange because it's not like it's an unpopular idea. That fantasy, but exactly what you're talking about, the high seas fantasy is something that's always been attractive to people. And I think it's come down to, for some reason, you get a series like Pirates of Dark Water that kind of creates a standard, and a lot of people don't like reapproach it later. The
Mhm.
couple attempts that have been made by big, corporations like Disney or whatever, it's interesting that folks are there's never been a large sweeping saga like that done since Caribbean, and it's something that I think is just a tragedy.
Yeah, I think though, like one of the things about that is I think pirates and high seas fantasy has never gotten that one person that pushes the genre forward. I mean, when you're talking fantasy, there's one author that comes to everybody's mind right off the rip,
Right,
like the
right,
godfather of it, and that is of course Mr. Tolkien himself. But when
of
it comes
course.
to that high seas fantasy, you had a lot of authors do a lot of really good things, including like
Hmm.
famous D&D authors with like the Dragonlance series and Forgotten Realms. But you haven't had that Godfather moment where it's like anything that gets done after this will
Right,
be in the shadow of this.
Right.
right.
That's interesting way of looking at that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was something very special about seeing such an obvious opening within not just the pirate genre, but this market specifically. And there's a reason that we pushed ourselves as hard as we did to get in line in meeting that very quickly surfacing demand, because we wanted to try to meet that where it was at and redefine what made a fantasy pirate genre as exciting and thrilling as you see in some of those ridiculously cool video games. That's really the only place you can get those interesting visuals like that. And so you
Mhm.
pair that with a physical object. It just seemed like lightning in a bottle, or at least a message in a bottle that hopefully will continue to plow right through Kickstarter. But
Right.
we've achieved that, at least at the stage that we're at. Folks have been highly responsive to them visually. And that's very much where we want to head, is to kind of set that standard of how equally interesting that this genre can be to something like Castle and Space and all those other things that gripped our attention as little boys.
Mhm, mhm,
Well,
mhm,
and I think really the resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons is going to help
Hmm.
with that because, like, I mean, one of my favorite D&D campaigns that I've ever been in, we literally spent more time on the boat fighting other people on boats or creatures in the water
Right,
than we ever did like getting to land, go through dungeon, get back on boat, like, and then
right.
more attacks. I literally, I think that campaign went from level 3 to level 15, and I think we only gained like 3 levels off the ship. Like the rest of it was all done on the ship.
right.
And I
Right.
really hope that the role playing, the RPG community kind of picks up on High Seas Adventure too, because like it's just so underserved in every realm. And I feel like action figures, just like you guys, that's going to be where it picks up first, it seems, because it's getting very,
Mhm,
very exciting out there as a High Seas fantasy fan
mhm.
to
Well,
see
there's
everything.
something very freeing about within that genre. You can kind of have an entire environment in the form of your pirate ship be a character in its own right that can also move you through the story in an active tone. It's something that very much keeps it continually exciting because you don't find yourself stuck in an environment that you don't know how to get out of or don't know where to go through. That was something that we thought through when designing these characters specifically. Was a lot of things that revolve around their ships. We're still working on some of that artwork for the box art, but these guys as pirate ships within universe and the visuals that we've developed for them, I can't wait till the public can see them for what they
Mhm.
are, because we got some really good talent behind the scenes that's working on it. And they're, I don't speak this way terribly often, but there's not really a better way to describe this than badass. That's just what they are.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
That's
there you
Hey, that's
go.
a
that's
great description. Anytime
right.
I
Yeah.
look at something's badass, I gotta at least check it out to see if it's legit.
Right,
That's
right, right.
exactly what they are. One of our favorite things about like, just for instance, naming them was particularly cool. So Captain Alistair Morningstar's ship is referred to as the Debt Collector, and there's a measure of irony that we injected into that on a deliberate basis, just based on what makes Alistair who he is. Deathmoid's ship, Skeleton Guy, is referred to as the Repossession, and then Captain Charybdis's is the Depth's Despair. There's all kinds of
Mm,
story notes that go into making what
yeah.
those are, and those ships are very much a character in their own right. Deathmoids is kind of like a living, all consuming fire that's also a pirate ship at the same time. It's wicked cool.
It's hype. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. Very honestly. Yeah.
So tell them, like, how about you? Is do you? I know you probably agree with me that you feel like High Seas Fantasy is underserved, but
Mm.
is there somebody that you think uh, you can point to as an influence, like a modern day influence that's really like kind of pushed the genre forward at all?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to say, like, Pirates of the Caribbean. I'll never forget the first time I saw that early 2000s film, and coming off of Lord of the Rings and being like, Legolas is my
Right,
favorite character,
right.
of the Fellowship, and Orlando Bloom getting another big role in a Disney film like that. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I know everybody's Johnny. Don't get me wrong, Johnny Depp is amazing in that film, and I get nothing at all. But I just love
Right.
Orlando Bloom generally. So like that was, and he's a swashbuckler. He's a true swashbuckler to me, and that's
Hmm.
my D&D character from fourth edition. She was a rogue, but like that was a big piece of her. She was also a swashbuckler, You know what I mean? And so it was always about, being fancy while also you're fighting. One of my favorite characters in the Dritz Dungeons and Dragons series is also a swashbuckler. So, you know, I definitely feel like just generally when it comes to Pirates of the Caribbean or just moving that genre or getting it more in your eye. I mean, as much as I love Orlando Bloom, I think the reality is for a lot of people, it really was Johnny Depp that kind of did that. Now, I know
Uh,
there's been some really good series. Black Flag or
Black
something
Black
Sails.
Black
Sails.
Sails? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Jay, you've been telling me about that again too.
Yes.
I've never seen it, and a lot of people have really quite talked highly of that as well. So,
It's
but
good.
yeah,
It's great.
for my money, like honestly, it just Pirates of the Caribbean is I think is the most like commercially well known pirates, and because probably
It
Johnny Depp.
defined what right, it defined what the genre was
Mm-hmm.
for the modern age. It interjected not
Mm-hmm.
just, the historical interest to what came with pirates, but then that fantasy element with all of
Yeah.
those cool villains. And despite, maybe how the quality of the writing started to go towards the end of those films, they
Yeah.
all brought something really, really, really unique and defining to that way of storytelling. The last two are kind of hit or miss, but the concepts they present, you don't really get any cooler than Ghost Pirates or Blackbeard
Exactly.
himself with candles on fire on his face.
Right.
So there's just always something new to explore. There's a reason those films were successful, and it's not even attributed to the fact that Disney did them. It's that whoever conceptualized what made that world what it is just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely captured people's imaginations. You put
Mm-hmm.
in fantastic performances with fantastic actors, and you get something that solidifies in people's heads for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So this brings me to an absolute spin-off, and I apologize to you guys. But the last one where they bring Orlando Bloom back towards the end to be that
Yep.
with his son, for anybody that hasn't seen it, like spoiler alert for an 8-year-old movie, but like the part that really like upset me about that as a fan was I was like, wait a second, like Orlando Bloom's character, like he would not do his job on the Dutchman, and
Mhm.
the whole curse of the Dutchman was supposed to be that they turn into these like barnacle
Right.
and
It was a
creature.
curse.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
it was a curse
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
not doing your job, and it's like, well, he would be doing his job, and that they literally tell you he's doing his job, but somehow he still shows up all messed up, and I'm like, okay, did nobody go back and watch the third movie to like make sure
That
No,
is a little bit
pick
of a
him back
plot
up on
hole.
the
Yeah.
same
Okay.
note?
no,
Yeah.
there's some huge continuity issues, especially with that fifth one, unfortunately. And it's too
Yeah.
bad because Captain Salazar was such a cool
Oh,
character.
my favorite villain in the series.
Yeah,
Really.
If you even want to call him a villain, he's my favorite in the
I
series.
love
he's
Barboza.
supreme. You don't get better than Jeffrey Rush. You just don't. This is
I
But
love
see, I
precisely
wouldn't
what
Barboza.
call him a villain.
defined cool pirates. Right,
I wouldn't
right.
call
That's
him a
why you
Right.
villain.
walk away
Yeah.
liking
Yeah.
him
He's.
better than Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do.
Now, Quaid, have you seen Black Sails at all?
It's something that have obviously with the advent of this company, we've dipped our toes into that water. And it's something it hits on the same note that Caribbean does, but it's much more versed in that, historical accuracy part of
Mm-hmm.
the conversation. There's some fictional elements all throughout it because that's kind of what makes the pirate genre what it is anymore. You go back and you define a pirate by what they're actually supposed to be. It's not a very admirable or, romantically looking profession, but there's storytelling tropes that are fit within that show that very much fall along the same vein, and I appreciate them immensely.
So I was talking with somebody about it, and Tone, I bet you'll appreciate this. I was talking to somebody about tonight's stream at work, and they were like, well, like why do you like Black Sails so much? And I was like, okay, I was like, let me see if this can give you why I love Black Sails.
Mhm.
Black Sails is to Pirates of the Caribbean what Game of Thrones is to the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Absolutely, that's a
Mm-hmm.
Like
perfect
you
analogy.
you you have this like semi-serious but still levity, laughing, emotional story, but then you have this like very guttural story. I remember watching that first episode of Black Sails, and it was like watching the end of the first episode of Game of Thrones. I was like, oh my gosh, like thank God I'm watching this on streaming and I don't have to wait a week or a month to get
Right,
Right.
an
right.
episode. But yeah, I mean, what Black Sails did for the genre for the 4 years that it was on is amazing because a lot of times it does feel very like Pirates of the Caribbean, Goonies, Hook, and so
Hmm.
for somebody to take it so seriously that like you sit there like out of breath at certain moments, or have those guttural reactions to what is happening to a character. And that's one of my favorite things, is when you can have something that treats its genre so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That
Mm-hmm.
serialized format helps keep that pacing up as well. That's something that we were actually trying to interject through a little bit of our campaign throughout, well, that's the entirety of the campaign throughout May, as we're working on an audiobook presentation of at least the
Ooh.
first half of year one, the story. An audiobook is something that I have ooh, 2 or 3 years of professional background in, even before um, picking up this project. And so I have all the tools to produce that in house for one. But the
Oh.
intention is not just to have it, you can just listen to a book and somebody drone on about the words that are on the page. We would like for it to be an experience. So there's music and sound effects and pacing to keep it with as immersive as an experience as
Mm-hmm.
possible. And so it's very highly, because it's year one, it very much circulates around a lot of the core themes that are defining what makes this genre unique to itself in relatively bite-sized snippets. And that's something that we're going to be debuting on, so long as it works out that way, a daily basis as the campaign goes on. So like May 1st on launch date, that's when you're going to get on YouTube the first installment of that audiobook, and that'll be part of the backer updates as well, so that people can get to it easily.
I want to applaud you on that, because literally, um, a lot of the other toy lines that we're going to be talking about tonight, towards the end of this conversation, have put
Right.
out stuff either with, like you are doing, or after, to kind of fill in the story. And it's one of the things that I appreciate about independent toy companies, is like they're not carrying forward just an IP, and putting out
Hmm.
somebody else's art, and they're not just making the toy the only focus of their art.
Right.
They're really world building and putting together a complete experience for us collectors to then turn around and share with our kids,
Mm-hmm.
and
There's
so
a ton of revolving components that it takes to making something believable and solidify within somebody's. What you want is to reach a consumer's heart. These are not just products. This is not just a theme to
Mm-hmm.
sell a toy. It's something that you guys are meant to be able to care about if you choose to, and that's hopefully going to be displayed within the marketing strategy. And of course, we're new at this. This is something that we're learning on a daily basis of what reaches people and what even a specific demographic is responsible to. But making sure that there's something for everybody is a really big part of what we want to do. And that audiobook was something that we were able to just give to our audience. It's not something that anybody has to pay for during the campaign. It's part of the
Cool.
experience for jumping in this early on. This first Kickstarter is very much what's going to inform if this line takes off. And we have a pretty good indicator that it's going to, but it's what's going to set the foundation for things like what we hear people ask about all the time, which is crew builders and creatures and all kinds of more characters. The amount of stuff we have going on in the background, which that audiobook is going to pretty heavily tease. I think folks are going to come out of the Kickstarter, super excited about the three, maybe more figures that they have come out of that campaign, and then be all over the story content because of the plethora of characters that were suggested or introduced or revolved around within that
Cool.
audiobook.
Cool. It's all that lore. Got to have that lore, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
so
Exciting.
you said that, going back a little bit, that the Mega Blocks, the Pirates line, was a big part of the
Hmm.
inspiration for you early on to latch on to High Seas
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy. Were there any other pirate toy lines? Like, I know that there, since you are a little bit younger than Tone and myself, I know that the Pirates of the Caribbean had those 4-inch tall figures, and they actually released
Uh-huh.
the Black Pearl. Did you have any of those toys, or go back and get any of the older stuff as a kid?
what stinks about, I had a fantastic childhood, but what stinks is that we live in, our company for the moment anyway, is actually based in a little tiny town in Wyoming, which is practically unreachable to the rest of the world. I say this all the time. If you take the comparison, Luke Skywalker says if there's a bright spot to the universe, you're on the planet that's farthest from. That is Wyoming. So all of the distribution from the toy industry as far as that area, it was all kind of like TJ Maxx leftovers type stuff. So I
Yeah,
didn't have a very great outreach to some things like that. I never had a proper Pirates of the Caribbean toy licensed anyway growing up. I never came across those.
I will say that since Toys R Us has gone out of business,
Mhm.
us here in Ohio, I'm not going to speak for Tone up in Michigan, but us here in Ohio, like somehow Walmart and Target started dropping their A games when they didn't have any competition in the toy realm anymore. And so we'll go
Okay.
months without ever seeing stuff.
Mhm.
I literally saw figures hitting clearance as they were getting unloaded in boxes. That's how late we get stuff.
Uh, that
Mhm.
sounds like a very familiar story.
I don't know if irony is the right word for it, but there's something to be said about living in the vast of nothing with fields in Wyoming and doing
Yep.
fantasy toy lines that are based in the
There's
sea,
a
in the water.
there's a huge irony to be completely landlocked, have no access to water, and my
Right.
whole theme revolves around it.
Yeah,
We
it's
won't be staying here.
Hey,
uh,
Abby, nice to see you in the chat. Thanks for joining us. So,
it's fair enough.
Tone, how about you growing up?
Yeah.
Like, were there any specific pirate toys that you had as a kid?
I didn't actually, you know what? The only thing that I can think of that I had as a kid for toys based in the pirate realm was there was a Lego set I remember getting. It was a small Lego set.
Mhm.
And it was just a small ship and raft and pirates, and that's the only thing because real again, we're talking about okay, let me take that back. I do take that back now. I knew there was something I should be thinking of. I too, and I just watched this a couple weeks ago. I think I even told you, Jay. I watched Hook for the first time in probably 25 years, 20 years, something. I hadn't watched Hook in a long time. And I felt like a kid again watching this movie. I love the film Hook. It's an amazing, amazing film, anyways, but I love Peter Pan in general, right? Um,
Right?
but I remember growing up as a kid because this came out in like 90. So I'd have been like,
Right.
10, 11 or whatever. And I wanted the pan sword so bad, and I never ever owned it. And it literally dawned on me that night because I was talking to my buddy about it too. I'm like, man, I'm watching Hook. This is great. And I even mentioned that to him. He's like, you're an adult now. Why don't you go get on eBay and find it? I'm like, you know what? I think I might try to do that. I
Right?
never had the pan sword. I feel like I deserve it at this point. But yeah,
Right.
I would say, yeah, no real toys. But I had that want outside of the Legos that I had was that I wanted that pan sword so bad, so bad.
Those Lego sets were bomb. Mega Bloks was what informed me, and I always wanted the Lego equivalent to that, and I didn't get to
Hmm.
experience some of those until a teenager. And there's another company that woefully underrepresents pirates in comparison to what they used to, because it was a staple, those four pillars of what made Lego interesting as it was in
Yeah.
1984. That was castle, space,
Hmm.
town, as it was referred to then, and pirates. And
Hmm.
now you kind of have to wait for some $300 adult revolving collector edition.
Right.
Like what was wrong with just putting out a $70 pirate ship, which was already a big pill to swallow for anybody at
Mhm,
the age of
mhm,
10 anyway.
mhm. Absolutely. True, true.
So, I have, and this will be no surprise to Tone, a very controversial hot take that I wanted to talk about with High
Shock.
Seas Fantasy.
Yeah.
Um, Waterworld. I don't think that movie is as bad as people give it credit for.
Well,
Like,
you know
I
how I
think,
feel about that. I love that movie. I'm a super fan.
are you really?
How do you not know that? I literally did an episode of Let's Set the Tone talking about that. I'm a super fan of Waterworld. You really didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. I
Oh,
must have missed that episode.
I am a
Wade,
super fan. Anyway, we'll talk
have
about
you
that
ever seen
later,
it?
but yeah, I'm a super
Yeah.
fan.
Have you ever seen it?
I am. I'm going to show my youthful gleam here. I'm drawing a blank. What we're talking about right now. Not the
it's
title's
a
familiar to me, but
I
I can say I've
it's
never seen
a
it.
Kevin Costner post-apocalyptic high seas adventure movie.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, all right.
Classically known for going way over production and budget, and
Yes.
still has a ride at Universal, I
Yeah, I
believe.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Yeah. Classically known as like, but
Okay.
huge cult following. And Dan Trachtenberg, who just been doing the Predator films, if you're familiar or know who that is,
Yeah.
the director of
Yeah.
them. Actually, when he was going around for Badlands, brought up Waterworld and was highly defensive of it and said that movie gets more hate than it deserves, and he loves that movie. So I'm vindicated. But anyways,
Interesting.
continue, Jay.
But no, it's so weird to me because like one of the toy lines that we're going to talk about tonight is post-apocalyptic high seas fantasy, and I'm like, you talk about an underserved genre. Tony,
Hmm.
I recently did a thing on subgenres, and I was like, oh my god, is that the only one that has hit the pop culture radar for post-apocalyptic high seas fantasies? Is that it? Do we really only have Waterworld? And so I went back and I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like, this is just Mad Max on
Yeah,
the
On the
water
water. Okay.
with
that was
the,
Yep.
how they marketed it. That's how they marketed it, actually.
It's
right. And I mean,
conjuring some
oh,
memories to me. I do know what you guys are talking about. I've just never sat through it.
okay. Well, I mean, once the Kickstarter is over,
Right.
like June 1st, just take 2 hours and appreciate it
Right.
for what it is. Like,
Once I have, a moment of time to myself that I
right,
haven't for the last 12 months.
Right. Or a date night with the wife. It's a romantic film too.
Right?
There is love involved, so I'm just saying.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
isn't that how they tried to market the first Deadpool movie? Was like they
Yeah.
released on
Because
Valentine's Day?
it came out on Valentine's Day in
Yeah.
2016. It
Oh
was
my
Yep.
gosh.
he was right though. It was a film about love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
Um,
wrong.
Mhm.
so are there any other ones, Tone, that you can think of where they were underappreciated, or maybe even reverse it on me and tell me if you think that something's overrated?
Are we talking just like toys in general, or
No. We're talking high seas fantasy in
oh,
general. Book, yeah, we're staying with the high seas fantasy in general.
I actually think that Cutthroat Island gets a little bit more hate than it deserves. I think
Okay.
for what Cutthroat Island is,
Yeah.
it's kind of a fun film. Have you seen it? You familiar?
I have
Gina Davis,
Clay.
yeah.
Drawing a blank. I'm afraid.
Man.
Yeah, it's an oldie.
Yeah.
It didn't do very well, honestly.
Mm.
But I think it's definitely kind of one of those underrated ones too that kind of slips under the radar. And of course, I would, if I didn't say Muppet Treasure Island,
Right.
say it
If you
because
don't mention Tim Curry, like, what are you even doing?
it's exactly. Thank you. So yeah,
Have we managed
absolutely.
to do an episode of Dungeon Banter where we didn't bring up Tim Curry yet? Like,
It would
You'd
be
think that
pretty
would be
tough.
silly.
I
Yeah.
right?
know. I mean, I'm always trying to get Kermit involved in every conversation, so why not?
Well, uh, so let me ask you, Quig. You said that like for you guys, the storytelling and the world building is very very important. Um, have you already started exploring like other factions, or are you sticking with the three factions that you've introduced, and then it's more characters and creatures?
You guys have no idea how many factions are in the background. No idea.
Oh
We
well,
led with the three strongest ones we felt that would get, the most amount of interest, and they had the most revolving door of storytelling. Everybody related to each other the best within those three. But yeah, you guys are one, the audiobook will tease a little bit of that, and I'm afraid that the things going on in the background, the audiobook doesn't even dump on how much there is potential wise for factions.
Cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Like that.
So I think we're to the time now where we can kind of just dive into all of the high seas fantasy toys that we have coming, and then specifically focus in on your Kickstarters coming up.
Mhm.
So
Nice.
my timeline might be a little off here on this, but Harvester Studios Savage Crucible
Mm-hmm.
Wave 3, part of that initial Kickstarter, like I was like, oh my gosh, like when they showed the lizard men, the Lumerians and the
Mm-hmm.
Saurians, I was like, yes, lizard men, Conan, and then like I saw all of the Piranoids and the
Right.
Harbinger of the Abyss, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, they're just doing all of it. They're doing it all at once, all the things that nobody's doing.
Right.
And so I lost my mind, and then your Kickstarter uh like you started showing the initial prototypes of your figures, and then it was almost like you had contacted the Four Horsemen at the perfect time, because they revealed Dawns of Discovery this year or this last year at Legion's Con. And
Mhm.
then you had, like I said, you guys announced, then Four Horsemen came out with their own, and then recently Valiverse just last year also announced their own post-apocalyptic
Mhm.
pirate line
Mhm.
in the black, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my wallet is going to hurt.
It's
So
already screaming. It's already on fire.
Yeah,
The
to be
wallet walked the
fair.
plank about 3/4 ago.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
thank goodness I keep pre-ordering and pre-ordering and pre-ordering, because it's already out of my bank account. It's already out of
Right.
my.
Right.
Mhm,
So, Tone, even though I know your
mhm.
answer, I love to see how passionate you are about it. We're going to start with Savage Crucible Wave 3. What figure are you
Mm.
most excited for, Fanboytone?
Well, for Quaid to know, and this will be relevant for him soon too, but I'm a massive Lovecraftian fan. So if it's got a tentacle,
Just we
sure,
want it.
right? I'm did you say nibble on it? No.
No.
Uh
No. You
okay.
went there, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, usually. But no, I'm stoked for anything that is very octopus like, squid like or whatever. So when I first saw their announcement, like, yes, the piranhoids are great, you know what I mean? Like, cause that likes
Mhm.
like deep ones from like Lovecraft or whatever, and those are great. But when I saw the Harbinger of the Deep, I was like, oh my god,
He's cool.
this is yeah, exactly. Perfect for me. So I'm really excited about him specifically and about that line because I love creatures, and when we're talking high seas fantasy, pirate fantasy, wherever it is. Again, one of my favorite things, we didn't really get to it, is the first time I saw Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean, I was like,
Yeah.
and how good it even still looks in CG today,
Hasn't
honestly.
aged at all.
Yeah, right. And like it just like my mind goes like this. So yeah, absolutely Harbinger was like the big draw for me for that line.
Okay. Quaid, do you have a favorite out of Wave 3?
Oh man, I mean, the most heartbreaking part of this conversation is the fact that you get into the toy industry to start making your own toys. You don't have any money to buy toys of your own anymore. So I don't have hardly any hope of, financing having some of these myself. But I really do like the Piranoids specifically. They're one going to be highly complementary just to what we're trying to achieve with
Hmm.
Charybdis, but they're so very unique just within that genre specifically. Everything Harbinger Studios has put their hand to has turned out really, really, really cool. And I wish I had known about them when that Kickstarter was initially the thing. It was just something that went over my radar. The indie scene is, of course, what I've jumped into recently. Whereas, primarily as a consumer, it was, those three heavy hitters of Mattel and Hasbro and whoever the third one was. I'm trying to blank on now. But it's really hard to pick a favorite with Harbinger because everything they do is really, really, really cool. But I like the Piranha people. They're looking really, really sweet.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So, out of Wave 3, I am most excited for that like purple anglerfish, the one that has the helmet
Yeah.
that's removable, and then
Is it the
also,
dreadnought? Like something like
yes,
that?
the
Dreadnought?
and he comes with the harpoon
Hmm.
and the anchor as weapons, and like the removable helmet, and then, pardon me for saying this, but damn it, they're fucking accessory packs, and their ability to take the armor off of one and put it on another, like it hooked me, and I had to buy two of everything because
Oh,
I was like,
absolutely.
I need this giant fishman army, and I need to make them able to be sub armies. I did it
Hmm.
with the Lumerians, and I own almost 3 dozen Lumerians just out of Wave One
Uh,
and the three that they've released since, and it's just overtaken my life.
Hmm.
Like the Lumerians, and so I think Wave Three is probably for me going to be the same. I bought one character heads pack, and I bought one additional figure for each
Cool.
one that comes in that heads pack. But for me, that abyss dreadnought with that anglerfish little light in the helmet, like,
Hmm.
oh, I can't wait to get my hands on that figure.
Hmm.
I get that army building format down pat. They're absolutely
Oh,
servicing
yeah,
the consumer
absolutely.
For sure.
fabulously in that arena.
For
And
sure.
then another action figure line that goes along great with Savage Crucible, like we talked about earlier, Four Horsemen's Mythic Legions Dawn of Discovery, like not pirate, just like
Right.
Savage Crucible is not pirate, but high seas. Like, yes, you have Captain Iron Skull and you've got a couple of the guys that ride along with him, but it is much more about the journey to new lands as a story moving forward. And
Hmm.
so, Quay, do you have a favorite out of that? I mean, you literally got to watch those reveals live. Like, do you have a favorite out of that wave?
We were in that room while they were going through it, and it was funny because we reached out to them probably, it was almost a full year before they were looking at unveiling that. They've had Dawns of Discovery, behind the curtain for a long time. They've been
Right.
working on that for forever. So one of the things that was so cool is they were so very gracious about that kind of middle ground that these two genres fit within. And so standing in that room at Legion's Con, listening to them gradually just unveil more and more about what makes this line what it is. For about 5 minutes, my wife and I are sitting there biting our nails because we're like, "What the heck are they doing to us?" And by the time they get out to the full intentions of what that line has come to be, we went, "Oh, that explains everything." And that whole seafarer aesthetic is something that they've integrated really, really, really specifically to what they're doing. And I'm right there with Corn Boy. I'm afraid you're just not going to get any cooler than that giant ugly crab. He's where it's at. And he's something that I think the whole community responded to very, very strongly. And he's also going to do nothing but wonders for. Come on, like who else is more complimentary to Captain Charybdis? I'm just saying they probably wouldn't, be best friends or whatever, but you're gonna see him on that ship, I think.
I definitely think there's going to be people that put those two on the same shelf together.
Absolutely, absolutely, and he's stunning in person. I mean, it's all of these things are. Even the prototype stage that our figures are at, they're as close to final as they're possibly gonna get. And being able to see the comparison of what we're doing as a unique entity, and then have that communication of aesthetic with what they have in front of us in person, there's nothing like being able to see these guys in hand the way that they're intended to be. And it's something that's really, really exciting when it comes to these two lines specifically, is having a physical presence at conventions like that. And that's something I can touch on later because we'll be able to show people these things more than once leading up to this Kickstarter. But I can't remember how it's pronounced. Bulwark, is that his name? The blue crab is just,
That sounds correct. Yeah.
he's so cool. He's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. He is. He
Mr.
is.
Tone, like
Yeah.
what do you think?
That definitely is the big draw for me. Is the big crab. Mr. Krabs is definitely what I'm. Yeah, I mean, just the first time I saw that, I was like, "There's no way that's really a figure. That's massive. It looks like something from like Dota or League of Legends. Like that's not real. Like, come
Yeah.
on,
Right.
I mean, it's got to be like this big or something crazy insane. I mean, I don't even know where they
Oh,
would fit around here.
he's
Yeah,
dinner plate. He's
yeah,
huge.
dinner play. Yeah, and other than that, the imp that they got, I really like that. I think it was an imp,
Same.
whatever.
Same. That
The
might have been my second favorite. He was
Yeah, yeah,
really cool.
they come with such great bits, like the treasure chests and stuff like that. Like that was a big
Hmm.
draw for me too, and the accessory pack for that line too. Like there's different fish and different stuff in there too. So there's a few things on there that I'm definitely gonna be picking up for sure. Be complimentary.
Their whole aesthetic is very Middle Eastern. That's very firmly rooted in some of the things they're
Yeah,
communicating with these guys, and I think that that's really cool that they picked on that aesthetic specifically because it sets them so uniquely apart from anything else like that. I thanks to a good buddy, walked away with a copy of Koi, and he's very much informing what to expect from that line. He's so beautiful in hand.
I am really hoping to pick one of him up at ZoloCon next weekend.
Mhm.
I literally like I have like been lurking on the secondary market for him, and I'm like, no,
Right.
just be patient. Like,
Just
uh,
wait. Just
yep,
wait. It's worth it.
just wait, just be patient. And for me, um, Captain Iron Skull really scratched the pirate itch in a
Yep.
whole new way. Like
Uh-huh.
the Captain Hook, but like interchangeable. And so, like for me, they are going to be separate attachments. I'm gonna figure out a way to hook them on the belt, and
Yeah.
like you know, Somebody that I was talking to about the line, they're like, well, that hook thing doesn't make any sense. And I was like, it does if you think about it as like him repelling, like, and it being
Hmm.
some sort of clockwork. I was like, yeah, he's not going to be wanting to walk around with that 3-pronged hook all the time. But if he's using it to move around, like pull, like himself over to another ship, it's cool. I can live with it. But like, such a cool way to scratch that
Mhm.
pirate itch
Uh,
in a line that is very that or wave that is very high fantasy without being very piratey, because like
it's
there's nothing that says that giant crab guy has to be a pirate,
right. He could
but
fit right
Captain
in
Iron
with
Skull, there's
Cosmic if
no
he wanted.
right, there's no denying that Captain Iron Skull is a pirate through and
Uh-huh.
through. um
Absolutely.
and then second for me was the mermaid, and I will tell you, when they showed her, I was like, damn, I really like,
That's
I've
pretty
got the
cool.
parts to make a more traditional mermaid out of Four Horsemen parts laying in my customs bins. But like, I don't want to just tear off that beautiful top of the mermaid to make a
Mhm.
classic mermaid. And then they showed those secondary legs, and I was like, yes, I was like, cool, she's a mer person, and then I could take
Yep.
that tail and I can stick it on another figure. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about these indie toy makers is they might not always like hit the exact spot I want them to, but even if I don't agree with every choice they make, you can always tell that they're trying to move forward, and they're thinking of the fans. Now, not only is that good
Right.
business sense, but also like it feels like a genuine
Mhm.
caring about the community. And so to see that tail with those legs, I was like, they knew what they were
Absolutely. They
doing.
met everybody where they were at with that wave. It's really, really eclectic the amount of things they tried to put into one series and kind of meet the whole fan base in one area in a really unique way with each figure. They were very, very smart about how they integrated it. And it's fun to see them, even if they don't hit the mark that maybe you were anticipating, they do something that's equally creative that makes you turn around and go, "Oh, well, I didn't know how bad I wanted that until now it's in front of me."
Right,
Right.
absolutely. And
Right.
it's so funny because like for me that wave was a really good win, and I almost walked away from it being like, damn, like it's really hard to pick a favorite figure,
Mhm.
because even the two figures that they chose to redo the version twos of, I was
Right.
like, the way they've updated these characters, and not just uh in quality of figure, but also
Mhm.
in driving the story forward. Like,
Mhm.
I'll tell you this now, for me, if you want to throw out the captains updated again in 5 years, and you make them look 3 years older, and you give them a couple of new scars, and you give them a
Yeah.
new outfit, and you explain to me why I should care about them 5 years later, I will care about them 5 years later. So,
It's
All
a good
right. Now,
point.
how did Jay get a hold of our Dropbox?
Right, 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 right. How did he get well, it certainly wasn't from swimming to Wyoming
Right. Nope.
at
That's
all.
not going
That
to
was
happen.
not gonna
I don't
happen,
even
no.
think that Iron Skull could repel you to Wyoming.
No, 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 not at all.
it's funny because being from Iowa, I very much understand that Wyoming thing. Only thing
Yeah.
is I grew up in Dubuque, so I had the Mississippi River to look forward to and all the boats
Mm,
traveling that. So
mm,
yeah, but trust me, like cornfields and no internet when internet became a
yep.
thing, like
Yep.
very much. So moving into the last one before we dive fully into your guys's Kickstarter, the Black from Valiverse. Like, what a surprise for me when he started announcing those figures, because I mean, I was not expecting him to go there. Um, Modern military or post-apocalyptic is very, very land-based almost all the time,
Mhm. Mhm.
and for him to take a successful IP in the Action Force line, start a subline that is can be separate or together, and be like, I am dedicating this to water and high seas adventure in a modern post-apocalyptic, like, amazing. Have you gotten a chance to look at those figures yet, Quaid, at all?
It's a very creative approach to a line that, seems like it would be confining within that area, and yet you've met it exactly where it's at, and finding a way to approach what does a modern day pirate look like, and how does it fit within that type of storytelling, and it's a really cool approach.
So,
It
Tone, I
is.
know I've harassed you about it all like a lot. Do out of
Definitely a
the
lot of
figures,
harassment, yes.
yeah. Uh, do you have a favorite figure out of that line so far?
You have to know who my favorite figure out of that line probably is.
Oh, I would take a guess, and I would guess I'm going to own him come Saturday, next Saturday.
You better get in line twice because I would also like to own that character, the skeleton. I can't think of his name offhand. It already
The
slips me,
black.
but
He's
yeah,
literally the
it
black.
is literally
Yeah,
the black.
he's
Yeah,
just
with
the
the
black. Yeah.
skeleton with. I mean, now they got skeletons with tentacles on their face. Come on, no
Right.
brainer,
Right.
no brainer,
No brainer.
no
Yeah.
brainer for me.
So I will tell you, Tone, I will try very, very hard to pick you up one.
Not good
However,
enough.
if we get one of the glow in the dark heads and one standard, you're getting the glow in the dark head
That's
because
fair. I
I
can accept
want
that.
that standard one so bad.
That's
Uh
fair. I'll take
Quay,
whatever I can get.
did you have a favorite out of the ones that were revealed so far?
The military style, like GI Joe, has never been, as far as like an adjacent line to that type of play pattern was never something that I was as invested in as some of the other things like Transformers and He-Man, and of course what we're doing. So I don't have a lot of figures like that. But these things in particular are
Okay.
something that caught my eye just because they're creative. They're in a different direction. So I don't own anything or necessarily have a favorite out of what they're doing, but it's cool to see a different approach to that genre that doesn't normally get my attention as an individual.
Okay.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. Fair
I
enough.
would say for me, being such a Black Sails fan, seeing Zach McGowan's likeness on the
Right.
Charles Vane figure and listening to him do the intro video for it, I think Bane is my number one. Um, I I do a lot more modern military and military fantasy than most of my friends, Fanboytone included. I think he owns like two GI Joe classified figures.
Same.
Three,
I
maybe.
have I
Three.
have
Okay,
Snake Eyes and whatever the white one is. I can't. Those are the only ones I've got.
Yeah.
but I mean, I got blown away because being a veteran myself, like uh, GI Joe kind of like was my opening get into like I joined the military because I want to
Oh,
serve my
sure.
country because
Right.
I grew up indoctrinated by Reagan's GI Joe era. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a real
Mm-hmm.
American hero, but like none of those characters lived in a world that was like mine. And even though Valverse is post-apocalyptic, like I've felt very, very connected to him. Like I mean I've made jokes about like Trigger's just a more handsome version of me. So to to see to see now that they're moving on from the army guys on the ground to Navy SEALs, and I imagine Marines will wind up. There will be Marines that
Mm-hmm.
attach themselves to the black at some point. It's just it's really nice, and
It's unique. It's
once
very unique.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's very much like a big win for me, but it sounds to me like the other fans in the community, it's a win for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys saw, but just this last week, they posted one of the little lifeboats, one of the little modern military ones, and they put four figures on it and they did a float test. And that sucker took like 3 minutes before it started taking on water. And I was just like, yes, bathtub toys are back while I'm in it.
Absolutely.
Finally. Finally.
Absolutely. We've all been
Finally.
waiting for about 20 years or more.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you can just make like the unobtainable goal of the Kickstarter, like the $500,000 goal,
Oh, I see.
a small lifeboat, like
Right.
you'll win because I'm
Mhm.
just gonna finance it myself because
Mhm.
I
Hey,
I
there you go.
I love vehicles. I love the big diorama accessories.
A rowboat is something that we've considered numerous times because we know people
Oh
would love it.
man,
It wouldn't
yes.
be probably as expensive to get off the ground as it sounds, but it certainly would be an aspiration for later down the road.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And not only that, but like, I mean, you're gonna have your hands full because if your Kickstarter's successful, there's that literally like, oh crap, I've got to make the next stretch goal and I've got to make it
Right,
fast. And having
right.
partners working with you on it, in Four Horsemen Studios, you're gonna have to go to them and be like, guys, like what are we doing here? You know what I
What the heck
mean?
do we do? We got too much money coming in. Hey,
Yeah,
that's the hope.
exactly.
That's the
Right.
hope. But we'll be happy if we, break even and are able to get people these three of that baseline. That's something that, any profits that come from this wave is absolutely intended to fund the next. That's just how this works. It's going to go right back into the line. So, however, more oh, I lost the wording there. However, well, this particular one goes is absolutely what will set the playing field for how that next one goes too.
yeah, yeah. Right on.
Yeah. So
Exciting.
now is the time, I think, Tone, to really
Hmm.
let Quaid spotlight himself. Would you
Hmm.
agree?
Yeah, yeah. We first of all, we appreciate you and being involved in our back and forth with this kind of stuff. We like to keep it very like open and conversational heavy as well too. So yeah, I think it's been long enough. It's time we need to let you kind of just open the Kraken's mouth and go ahead and do what you need to do. Let's hear it. I'm ready. However you want to do it.
So, would you like to go into the Kickstarter background first, or would you like to go into the characters first? Because we've got your Instagram pulled up for the characters whenever you're ready to talk about them, but we can do it whatever order you want.
Nice. I got about probably another 25 or 30 minutes here. So I think
Perfect.
I will lead with the Kickstarter information because that's, of course, what's on everybody's mind right now. That's the main motivator.
Absolutely.
Is when do we get to work? I mean, I'm at the place where we've been at this for a year that I'm so marketing is such an exhausting job, and especially when you're one of the only two people on the team doing it. I'm very much ready to stop having to constantly keep this in front of people and just start making these toys. One of the most refreshing parts of this whole process is just being able to talk to our production manager at Four Horsemen about how things are looking at the factory, and what that decision making is going to start looking like. Because that's the part that I'm passionate about. I love the storytelling just as much as I love the engineering and making the toy what it's supposed to be. And that's the stage where we're at. And so that's of course what folks are also most interested in hearing. Um, so the Kickstarter, obviously, if I haven't spelled it out like 18 times already with my giant Kraken mouth, is May 1st within the next 10 weeks. And that will go, the intention and the plan is for that to end right at the end of May as well. So what's cool about this campaign is that going forward from today, the next 10 weeks, and then um, cutting it off at the end of May is that our friends over at Creative Realms, Terrence St. John and his wife Gina, are going to be representing Tide Realm Corsairs in person at the conventions that we can't make it to because we
Great.
are in that horrible soul sucking area that we refer to as Wyoming. No, he's on the East Coast, so he's at those conventions
Right.
already, and he'll
Right.
be doing a great job. He will actually be at ZoloCon next week. They
Cool.
don't have a booth for that one, but I know he'll be in costume and he'll have some flyers to hand out for people. They'll probably be jumping on folks trying to talk to him about pirates. He'll probably make himself as annoying as possible. So you'll know Terrence when you see him.
Cool.
Excellent. He and I will get along great at ZoloCon next
Uh,
weekend then, because I'm
Absolutely.
also annoying, tossing out cards for 7D.
That's precisely the club you want to join. And
Yeah.
then
mhm.
following after ZoloCon, I believe, because I'm still having to refresh my memory on this, because he established all this fairly recently, and this information is on TideRealmCorsairs.com as well. Should be Toylanta. That I
Mhm.
believe is in March, and he will have the first official booth of his there, with the prototypes in person, so people will be able to take a look at them there. We're working on getting the prototypes from us to him within the next month or so. After that, I believe it's ToyCon New Jersey in April. Similar breakdown there of a booth with the prototypes in person. And then that finale is IshCon in May. And that is those very last 2 days of May is also going to be when our Kickstarter wrap up begins. And so the cool thing about IshCon is that it is actually surrounding the theme of the Year of the Pirate this year. We have obviously this really well defined trend within the toy industry of this seafaring idea, and IshCon has jumped on that and wants to make their convention and their platform revolve around that. So it's a really cool timing to be able to wrap up our Kickstarter while those prototypes are in person in front of people at that venue. So that'll be really, really fun. And that's something for people to look forward to. There'll be 3 more opportunities from now until then, if you're able to go to those shows, to see these guys in person before we eventually blow past the funding goal and folks have even more to talk about in May when it comes to stretch
That's
goals.
right.
Do you hear that,
That's
Um,
right.
Tone? If you
and
join
That's
me
right.
and Rooney at IshCon, prototypes in hand.
I know.
it's a
Okay, I
it's
heard.
a good time to join the crew, I'm
That's
afraid,
right.
these next
That's
two and a
right.
half months.
That's right. That's right. I'm out in my little raft boat. I'm trying to get up to the boat as fast as I can.
He's got
I'm
2
paddling.
little baby-sized oars. They're doing the
Yeah.
job, but it's taking forever.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. They're spatulas.
So
I'm full of
Quake,
holes too.
not trying to get any information that you don't want to give away, so feel free, but I always like asking the question that, like I think would be on people's mind. Do you guys already have stretch goals in mind? You don't have to disclose what they are, but do you have stretch goals in mind already?
We have stretch goals in mind, absolutely.
Awesome.
We have some that we know are probably going to surprise people because we're a new company and we have a very small and intimate wave jumping off for myriad of reasons, mostly to make it affordable to everybody who's jumping into a new theme. So the planned stretch goals are obviously within what's realistic for us to do as a new entity, but there's things that we've only just recently um, gotten confirmed through the studio that I think are going to make people really, really. They're making me really happy. I'm excited. I already want these toys real, real bad, and I'm making them. And once we got the stretch goals locked in, I went, this weight is going to be murder.
Right. I bet. I bet. I bet. And you guys are almost to 500 now in the Kickstarter saves, right?
Are we? I'm so busy that
Yeah.
the horrible irony of this is that I don't even have time to check my own page on a regular
Yeah.
basis. It's like
You're
maybe twice a week that
469.
I've been able to go.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
You guys have been moving. That's great. That's
Um,
exciting.
one of the things when it comes to the Kickstarter aspect of what makes this project what it is the cool thing about that platform is it's giving our fan base the opportunity, that they don't have at a normal retail level. You watch Hasbro put up a pre-order, you have it in 3 months or so, maybe a little longer, depending on what the conversation is. And that's as much relationship as you have with the line. Whereas
Hmm.
here, you're not just investing in an action figure that you're interested in, you're investing in a brand that you have faith in its longevity.
Hmm.
So one of the best ways to vote, you're not just voting with your wallet, you're actually voting with your heart and your intentions toward that company, because jumping on early on a Kickstarter campaign is the best way to inform not only Kickstarter as a platform, but the rest of the community to take the project seriously. It tells
Yeah.
that algorithm to get it in front of people as quick as possible. And so the quicker you get past that funding goal within the beginning of a Kickstarter campaign, the more likely it is for everybody to be able to get exactly what they want at the most affordable price possible at that jump in wave. And so those
Hmm.
first 3 days of the Kickstarter campaign are the most important. And that's why we keep referring people to that Kickstarter landing page, because when you sign up for notifications for when it goes live, you're one of the first people that has a chance to get their name on it. And you're also one of the first people making it that just that much more likely for that campaign to succeed
Right.
because you were there early. You're not charged for anything during a Kickstarter campaign until the end if the campaign is successful. So waiting to see if it reaches there until the end, waiting to jump in before it looks like it's actually happening is a little bit backwards, because it won't happen unless you think about it that way from the beginning.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, and when I was looking at the Kickstarter again the other day, and I know this post out there as well too, but I like seeing able some of the details, the extra stuff of like here's how they pose, and here's the articulation, or here's a breakdown of what's inside of them, how the pieces by
Mm-hmm.
piece create them as well too, which I feel like you don't always. I mean, you do. I think a lot of people do, but there sometimes you don't always get that either, though. Too, and you're pretty transparent about a lot of those things, which I like.
A lot of indie companies are really, really good about being transparent about their process and what's going into making the product what it is. And it's something that's essential. Like I just said, you're investing in a new entity that has yet
Hmm.
to prove themselves within the waters of the toy industry. You have some veteran performers behind us in the form of Four Horsemen that are already giving folks a really good comfort level. Just because you know you're going to get a quality product, but you want to know who you're working with on your way to get there. And so it's
Hmm.
very, very important as a new creator to make sure people can see exactly what you're doing the whole way through. And so seeing a breakdown of what the engineering is, seeing what the articulation is in as full transparency as you can get it before they're, 100% engineered is something that fans have a right to see. That's part of your investment.
Hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome.
Now, Tone,
Hmm.
I will be honest. You kind of took over for me and became even more of a fan of this than I am. Obviously, I'm planning on backing it and planning on getting a
Hmm.
couple. But my question to you is,
Hmm.
fanboy, have you figured out how swappable these are and how customizable, how easily these are to customize yet? Have you poured over those pictures and figured it out?
I've got ideas.
Yeah, you got
So
ideas
I
already.
do. I do.
one of the things I want to make sure is adequately understood about these guys is that um, they are not cross compatible with Legion's products simply
Hmm.
because that's something that Horseman so ingeniously baked into what makes their line what it is, and it's a footstep within the toy industry that they're very interested in retaining for them specifically. However, customizers not only can but are going to do whatever they want with these toys once they
Exactly.
have them in hand. So there's all kinds of loopholes for people to meet anyway. But the cool thing about these guys is that even if they're not, this big sandbox that connects with everybody else, they are cross compatible with each other. And they're cross compatible with each other in ways that are really unique to this genre of figure. We've figured out a couple different ways to make them interchangeable between each other that I've actually not seen in some other characters. So one of the cool things about the aesthetic of these guys is very much their outfit. That pirate garb is what's communicating the most about that character.
Hmm.
And so one of the only things that's an indicator as far as who you're looking at is those hands, the toes that are peeking out of the boots or so, and then the head and that neck. Everything else is very much this unique pirate attire. And so all of those pieces are interchangeable to do something to the level of if you wanted a coral encrusted Deathmoid, you can do that. If you want a coral encrusted Alistair, you can do that. If you want a basic, brown and gold skeleton pirate, those pieces are going to be cross compatible to let you already at that base level with those three figures build out some other characters that might not have occurred of until we were able to get some of those cross compatibility features established.
Great.
That's awesome. That's great to
Yeah.
hear. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, like, being just interchangeable with your own product, I get that right now on the indie scene, like that is still like the level. But as somebody that's been
Uh,
customizing Mattel and Hasbro for years, it is still the biggest win for me that
hmm
Valaverse can swap parts with his own figures and
hmm
Four Horseman can swap parts with his own figures. And so for you guys to put that much thought right off the rip into this, like that really speaks
Hmm.
volumes to your dedication to seeing the line go beyond three figures.
Oh,
So
absolutely. There's so many components of these guys that not only on a base level, because each of these three guys look very, very unique in their own right, and yet they do share tooling. They have the same parts when it comes to their base torso, the pelvis, the upper legs, and the upper arms, and that's about where it stops when it comes to these guys. Is that central captain body? But there's so many options when it comes to what we have intentions of doing, not just with this sculpt, but informing what other characters look and feel like
Right.
surrounding this aesthetic that we've established. And that cross compatibility, that modularity is something that opens a completely different door with collectors. And it's something that we're absolutely interested in establishing in a unique way that makes Tide Realm what it is. And these three guys are already doing that at a level that we were not
Mhm.
expecting to be able to meet so early in the game.
Excellent. Excellent. I know want to be cognitive of time too. So I do want to pull up the Kickstarter here a little bit as well so everybody can kind of look at that too. Now I'm going to navigate to another page here. So Jay, you're going to have to
Nice.
navigate me. So but I want to be able to get a good look at these guys here. So make sure of course and we'll have all this stuff in the description. You'll be a link to all of your socials. Now, do you guys have a link tree or do you do or anything like that or is everything separate like so I got to make sure I want to make sure I get to the Kickstarter or anything like that too.
We do not have a link tree, but that's something that I should probably look into.
Fair enough.
But those socials are all over the place. I mean, we
Yeah,
have it's kind of synonymous. The website, the Instagram page, and the Facebook page all are synchronized with the information that are on them. And TideRealmCorsairs.com will take you to all of those places.
fantastic. Okay, perfect. Then there you go. That's basically your link tree at that point. So, if you don't mind, I'll have you do this. Just kind of go left to right there for us. Tell us the name of each of these
Oh, perfect.
amazing characters.
Well, right here, this is kind of, this is our central hero shot that we've had circulating for this picture gets a lot of attention. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
attention since we posted it.
Hmm.
And one thing that helps is that just that you can see everybody together. It's really solidifying how um, how much that aesthetic complements each other from figure to figure. So what we've got on our, I guess my left hand side here is Captain Algol Deathmoid, and he is our lead captain of the Perished, and he's referred to in universe as the Void of the Black Tide. The Tide Realm Isles are formed out of this absence of the three gods of the Tide Realm. Those three gods individually have kind of influenced who these captains are in an either highly direct or indirect way. And Deathmoid himself is actually a result of their absence. He has this kind of
Mm.
totalitarian mindset of bringing perfection through nothingness. And so he's absorbing creation through his ranks to redefine it in his image. So he's terrifying, to say the least. And then you have in the middle Captain Alistair Morningstar, and he's somebody that was really, really cool to approach, not only from a design aesthetic, because we wanted to make sure that this felt like the most classic piratey pirate you could ever encounter, and yet dial up some of those classic tropes that you expect with a character like that, and put a kind of a morality spin on it. It's interesting to approach a pirate character, a trade by definition that is not necessarily admirable, and make that character good by nature. And that was a complicated process to establish. And a lot of that you can dive into when it comes to the story content on the website, but there's little communication details within what makes him what he is that he is very much supposed to be a hero within this story, despite his role as a privateer. He's been drawn into piracy as a quote unquote profession because it's all he's ever known. And yet there's this draw and this longing to something more that he has found in what makes the supernatural effect of the Tide Realm what it is. All these impressions that the gods have left on the world are almost literally calling to him, which is why he has that unique blue eye on the right side. We were trying to meet a unique way of approaching that eye patch aesthetic and yet bring it into that high fantasy element. So he has powers that are paired with the sword that he possesses, which is a relic from the gods. There's lots of layers to what makes our Captain Alistair Morningstar what he is. He's complex for a pirate, and it's really cool to see that character communicate through what that sculpture has turned out to be. And then Charybdis is pretty self-explanatory, Mr. Tentacle Face here. He's the pretty boy. And Charybdis is somebody that was birthed very much out of just having a blast with what the aesthetic of Tide Realm is. He's quite literally wearing his environment that he's been imprisoned in for thousands of years. He's this kind of fallen demigod character who sees kind of the purity of what makes his race, the Tideborn, what they are, and sees them as this original race of being. He wants to see them control the Tide Realm and has turned all of these fantastical powers that the gods established onto the surface realm. His whole motivation is to bring the Maw of the Abyss, which is this giant continent sized whirlpool, into being and suck all that back down and bring the Tide Realm back up to where they belong. So, the whole point surrounding all three of those guys is to keep that conflict renewable. All three of these guys have a reason for disliking each other, and having that conflict something that you can establish in a completely unique light between character to character. And it helps that they all have accessories that give you an endless option when it comes to each scenario. We wanted to make sure people had both ranged and close weapons so that you could put them in very, very different storytelling scenarios.
Now, can I ask you, how conscientious of a decision was it to give Alistair a standard style pirate sword on top of the the sword of the gods? Was that a very conscientious decision to make him fit in with a generic pirate as well, or was that just something that you kind of wanted to do and did?
Absolutely. Well, there's several components when it comes to their aesthetic that's very story-ented, as I like to say, and then we wanted to meet that pirate element at its base level. So it was very intentional to make sure that people had, an aesthetically consistent set of weapons, but you're not going to want a pirate captain without a classic cutlass. Now, his classic cutlass is fairly ornate by nature, but we want people to be able to play with Alistair like he's the pirate they've envisioned. We have all this cool story that we've prescribed to everybody, but we wanted to meet it at a level that was evergreen. And so he has evergreen accessories just to go along with his story relevant accessories.
Tone, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. I real smart. Well, to be cognitive again of your time, I do want to just highlight. Abby says out here there are a ton of unique aspects to these other lines don't have. Things like hands with rings, long coats are hard to find in any toy lines, especially at a 7-inch 1/10
Mm-hmm.
kind of scale line. She is, as
Mm-hmm.
always, correct on that. So, um, you know, appreciate walking through that with us. I'm excited clearly about the Kickstarter here as well. I'm going to hand it over to Jay so we can get you to your probably next event. I know you're busy out there right now with everything as well too. But before he says what he's probably going to say
It's
to bring us home,
constant.
we appreciate you, and like I told you, in pre of the show here, you're more than welcome to use us as a megaphone at any time. If you say, "Hey, will you share this for me?" or whatever, I said we don't always have the biggest bandwidth, but we definitely will be there to do whatever we can for you.
It's been fantastic. I've been enthralled to be able to share with you guys because it's just so much fun to be able to share at an intimate level as a creator what makes the toy line what it is, because it's hopefully enriching the experience for you guys as the
Mm-hmm.
consumer. It's not just a toy to you, it's something that you get to be a part of, and that's something that I have the honor of shepherding when I'm in front of
Mm-hmm.
people.
You have one thing that makes the difference in a lot of different things in life in general, whether you're collecting or building relationships. You have passion, and that's what I look for. So I appreciate that.
I'm glad it's coming through because it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely what helps you survive through the days that are nothing but stress. Because while making toys is fun, those days
Mm-hmm.
are present too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I believe
And
it.
once again, to echo Tone Simmons, thank you so much. Like this was fantastic. I didn't get through about half the questions that I had for you on the Kickstarter, but it was such a good conversation. And it was really nice getting to hear where your influencers are different, because sometimes Tone and I, when it's just the two of us, we're so close in age and we're so
Right.
close in fandoms that becomes kind of an echo chamber. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really great getting to get your perspective on where your line's going and where you think High Seas Fantasy in the toy community is going. Once again, for everybody watching, one more time, your Kickstarter kicks off on May 1st and will end at the end of May. Um, Guys, if you're anything like me, get in that Kickstarter early,
Yeah.
back it, at least get what you definitely want to have, and be watching for those stretch goals as they happen. I'm super excited to get to be part of this journey with you. I know Tone is as well. And if you don't have anything else, go ahead and announce it to the group, and we'll get you out of here.
You guys have been awesome. It's an absolute pleasure to sail the high seas on Dungeon Banter because it's just fantastic.
Aye, Captain, I love it as well, too. It's been a pleasure to sit here with you.
Wow, that was a really good Barbosa tone. I did not know you had that in you.
Told you Barbosa's my favorite, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You best start believing in pirate accents, matey, because you've got one.
See? We're going to work
All
on it.
right. Well,
We're going to
shiver
work
me
on it.
timbers. Or,
There you go. Hey,
Or something.
we'll allow it this time. But
Right.
yeah, no, thank you again. Thank you everybody for showing up as well too out in the chat and hanging out with us for some pirate fantasy talk, but more importantly, talk about the upcoming Kickstarter with the Tide Realms here. So to that, we'll definitely see you next time. The goal in mid-March is to have the next Dungeon Banter. We're going to try and get a community member from Savage Crucible from the Facebook group. We got some people out there do some great customizing, some great painting, all sorts of stuff. So the goal will be, and we'll have more details soon, date and who that is going to be, but have one of those members come on here and talk about customizing and the work that they're doing. There's a lot of folks in that group that are doing some crazy customs, and we want to kind of pick their brain a little bit and hear, where they get their inspiration. So
This community is incredible. There's no lack of talent to feature.
absolutely,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
non-stop. So, well, hey, thank you again, Quaid, and to everybody out there, enjoy, and I hope you sail the high seas, but you do it safely as well too. We'll see you real soon.
You guys
All
are
right.
most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's been a
thanks. I've
pleasure.
treasured this conversation.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
One last dad joke.
Till next time, everybody. We'll see you in the dungeon. Good night.